When you have a clear vision of where you're headed with your business and your organization, then everything else underneath it makes sense. So you can create a culture for people where you're all working towards the vision. If your vision is disjointed, your culture is going to just fall apart. Because what are we working towards? What's the point of what we're doing?
Welcome to Build Your Culture Brand with Dr. Jay Rains. As leaders, you have the ability to design and lead culture intentionally. Hear from culture leaders who are moving from a values list to values lived.
Hey leaders, welcome back to the Build Your Culture Brand podcast. I have with me today Meghan Fox from Belay Solutions. Welcome to the show, Meghan.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
This is going to be so fun. I always enjoy my conversations with you, Meghan. And just for transparency here, I actually used your organization. And we'll explain what your organization does. I have a virtual assistant and y'all have supplied that amazing person to me. And you are a senior client success consultant for Belay to kind of make those matches. Like you listen to the client, see what they need, and then you go into y'all's pool of amazing people and try to make a match. Would there be any other way you would describe your role?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm like a business matchmaker. So I do the matchmaking part, but then I also get to walk alongside of our clients and contractors once they're matched and serve as a coach, serve as a consultant, help to strategize. I really want to partner with our clients and our contractors throughout their duration of working together and working with Belay, and that's the bulk of what I get to do every day. The matchmaking is a small portion. The bulk is really kind of the doing life with our clients and contractors every day.
Well, I know you seem to love what you do. You just have so much energy that you bring to your role. So I've experienced that and I appreciate that. I got to know you through several of my clients actually that use Belay to find a virtual assistant. So we got into a place where I felt like that was a need for our organization, and y'all have been so great to help me kind of walk through that journey, and now I have this amazing person that helps me and just all that behind the scenes stuff. I'm curious though, Belay has an interesting kind of origin story. So how did Belay even get started, and kind of where are y'all now in your scope?
Yeah, it is a really cool story. So we've been a virtual company before virtual was cool. But originally we were in the business of helping construction companies that built churches who needed additional administrative support. And so that's kind of where we started. And the original owners saw the value that we could bring to business owners from a virtual standpoint. What are the things that we can provide behind the scenes to help clients and these businesses and churches be successful long term? So we've been around a really long time. We've had a few different names. We became Belay Solutions, I believe, in 2012. That was when we officially became Belay Solutions. We have identified really strategic ways to help businesses from behind the scenes in a virtual capacity. And we are scalable, we are fractional, and we provide all kinds of service lines. So the bulk of what we do is this virtual admin role, where we're really supporting businesses, business leaders to be able to climb higher. That's, Belay, like climbing, the Belay call. That's what we do. We exist to help others reach their dreams and their goals. And we do that through our virtual administrators. So our VAs really help on the back end with administrative tasks, email, calendar. If you hate doing it, we got it. But we also provide, what business owner loves reading their email? None of them.
Right.
None of them, because it's a time suck. So our VAs help do that for you and manage calendars and different tasks like that. But we also provide social media managers who can help run your social media channels, as well as just a slew of accounting services, service lines, bookkeepers, fractional CFOs, controllers, accounting specialists. So we've really been able to identify those behind the scenes roles that we can help fill a niche while you not having to fill a position full time. It's not always, for the most part, it's a role that is a part-time role when you look at it. And so we can do that.
One of the things I love about that fractional idea is that you can scale up or down, and so that's just such a wonderful attribute and characteristic of what you're doing is, especially if you're having a season coming up where we're going to need to scale, and it's just an easy scale, or even I suppose add another person, like you said, they have other specialties, and so that scalability is really attractive for a business like mine, where we're already virtual too, so it just made sense to also work with y'all. So thanks for helping us on our journey. I wanted to though find out a little bit about you and your leadership, and it's kind of a fun question I like to ask. I know you're prepared for this, so I'm going to ask you. Get your cape out, your Marvel superhero here. What would be your leadership superpower?
I love this question. And when you and I talked about this, I was like, okay, I'm going to team source because I work with a really great team of people. We have 30 CSCs on our team here at Belay, but I work with a team of about 9, and we're very close. And so I went to them and I said, I've got something in mind, but I'd love your feedback. I'd love to know what you think my superpower is. And it was funny enough, it was unanimous that my leadership superpower is the ability to make connection. My husband jokes all the time that he can't take me anywhere without us having a phone number and plans for the weekend by the time we leave. I love people. I love people and I love making connections with people, and I am gifted at being able to do that quickly. And in this role, it's important that I can do that. It's important that I can meet a new client who has never met me. We have 1 hour long conversation before I'm on a search for their new partner in crime, essentially. I mean, this is somebody who's going to work very closely with our clients. And so I have to be able to gather as much intel as I can on that client, and not miss the point, right? Like I can fill an hour with small talk. Small talk's not going to get the job done. I need to connect with you. I need to really figure out who you are, what's important, where your pain points are. And it's something that has always just been very natural for me. And so I think that's what makes me love this role so much, is it feels very natural while still being a daily challenge.
I love it. I love it. I can really relate to that. My family jokes around that no matter where we go in the world, I'm going to bump into somebody that either I know directly or I know someone they know, and just they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, there he goes
Mm-hmm.
again. So I can definitely relate to that what your husband's saying. But I can see how that would really play well into the role you're in, and kind of learning how to read people, understand them, but also in the back of your mind, I can just imagine you're going through this Rolodex of, this catalog of people, and you're trying to match people. People are so dynamic and complicated, and there's a depth there that it's good that you have that natural intuition. But what's the kryptonite that works against you?
Um, the kryptonite that works against me, and again, I team source for this. This one, I got like two kind of answers, but I think they work together. Um, I'm highly competitive, and I set myself at a really high standard that oftentimes is unrealistic when it comes to daily achievement. So I've always been an overachiever. Firstborn type A type personality. I set high goals for myself. I've always been someone who I have to set a goal or I won't do anything. But sometimes for me, I'm setting that goal a little out of reach, and then I can be really hard on myself. Yeah, like I can be really hard on myself when I don't meet it. Self-deprecation is kind of my jam. So I'm working on that. I recognize it, but it's still that thing. Like my first inclination with anything in life is like, okay, great. How are we going to set a goal and just knock it out of the park? And sometimes I have to coach myself the way I coach my clients, which is that's a great goal, Megan. Like, that's fantastic. What's attainable today or what's attainable this week? Um, so I have to, as much as I give the advice and coach the advice to those I'm working with, I often forget to follow it myself. So it's still my kryptonite.
And so you use your inner coach. I love that idea of, okay, this is how I would talk to someone else. I probably should talk to myself this way. I love that concept.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So having those in mind, one question I have for you, and I've experienced this personally, but I want you to kind of flesh this out. Like, how do you, because the probably I'm imagining people listening to our podcast, they're working with people, they're hiring, they're trying to find those great selections in whatever business or role that they're running in. And what are some techniques you use to find that great match from a perspective, contractor to who they might be working for?
That's a great question. And I'll give away some of my secrets. I can't give away everything, but
Okay.
uh, no, it's so the when I'm meeting with a client in that 1 hour discovery call is what it is, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what are the tasks? What are the daily tasks, weekly tasks, things that you're ready to delegate off, and you're ready to have somebody else take over those for you? What do those look like? Awesome. What tools are you using? What's the technology that keeps your business running on a day-to-day basis? Cool. And then I get to my biggest question. What's the culture like in your organization? What personalities work best with you? Um, what values do you hold dear? What's important? And sometimes a client will ask very simply, could I read my vision statement or my list of core values? Yes, please. I would love that information. That's great. Um, because of the root of it, I'm matching for both the hard skills and the soft skills. I need somebody who is competent enough with technology, understands, let's say, email management or calendar management. They understand those things, the basic administrative tasks. But if they don't fit you culturally, if they don't fit your business culturally, it's never going to work. I mean, at its core. So while the hard skills are important, I'm really trying to flesh out the soft skills that are necessary to make this person successful in this role. Um, I listen for the nuanced things and it's that 1 hour discovery call. I ask questions, but I spend the majority of my time listening to the client. That's really what that hour is about. Um, and I'm listening for nuanced things, the things that maybe they didn't say out loud, but they've said around it. I love asking a client, depending on, especially if they're having a hard time kind of talking about their personality or their feedback style, because that's also really important. Like, how do you communicate? I will often ask, how does somebody describe you?
Oh, that's a good,
Or
yeah.
what would your right-hand person in your office say your feedback style is? And it kind of rephrases the question for them in a way that maybe that's actually a real life example that they can speak into versus trying to come up with an answer off the cuff. They can kind of redirect that way.
I love that.
Um,
I love that.
yeah.
The way it distances them from saying, this is me, this is, absolutely kind of like cut me in half, this is me in the middle. It's like, well, it kind of gives them the chance to say, well, I mean, I think they're wrong about this, but they would say, and so
Uh-huh.
they get to
Uh-huh.
defer and really show, yeah, an experiential
100.
answer. I love that. It's good.
Yeah, and I actually really love like every now and then a client will show up with somebody else they work with in a discovery call. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm asking you questions, but I'm also going to ask this person some questions because I think, it's easy for us to talk about ourselves in a highlight reel, but I kind of also need to know the weaknesses about you. I need to know where you struggle a little bit because if I can learn that, then I can look for a VA, I can look for a bookkeeper, whatever the role might be that can strategically complement you there. Or maybe they've worked with a leader like that before, so they know how to bring the best out of that person.
Yeah,
hmm there's a lot that goes into it,
it's a lot. So,
but
okay,
it's a routine process, right? Like it's like at this point it's routine, even though it's a lot.
it's a lot. It's a lot. So okay. So I'm curious now. I know this is the Culture Brand podcast, right? And you just brought up the culture word, and I'm curious. So you're on calls with different CEOs around the country and or leaders, and I have this. I wonder how quickly you get a sense of the health or unhealth of a culture. So is that easy to kind of pick up on if cultures are healthy or unhealthy?
Not always. Not always. I think unhealthy culture has leaked its way into a lot of corporate America and nonprofit America. I think it really has kind of in the last couple of years seeped in, but people have been able to hide it well, whether the face of the organization is still loves the organization, it's super healthy and or like to them they think it's really healthy, so therefore that's the outward appearance that they're giving. Um but those on the inside, once they're in there, would tell you differently. I think blatant unhealthy culture is very easy to spot. Very easy. When you meet with a client, they're blaming somebody else all the time. Or, we've had X number of people turn over in this role and I just can't figure out what's going on. Culture's probably the reason.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's so
So
good.
it's,
Thank you.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And so unhealthy culture could be there, but it's sometimes it's easy to mask it and
Yes.
takes a minute to really see it. Okay.
hmm
Thank
But
you.
our
Thanks
VAs
for
will
letting me.
spot it quickly. Like I can tell you that, like the VAs spot it quickly once they're in there. Um,
Hmm.
and sometimes we can turn a culture around. Like we can work with a VA and a client, especially if their perception is like, hey, we're got this really great healthy culture, but the VA is like, hey, but this is not great here. As long as that client's open to feedback, you can usually turn culture around pretty quickly. As long as the leader starts some leadership down. So as long as the leader is open to feedback and wants to make change because they recognize, maybe it took a second, but they recognize something isn't quite right. And, we can work with them. The VA can help. We can get them in touch with people who know more about how to set up healthy culture, and we can fix that. But if it's unhealthy and they are okay with that and they don't desire to change, then it's typically not a great atmosphere for a virtual assistant.
Oh my goodness. We could just end the podcast right here on this
Right?
point and just say, okay, you want to turn your culture around, bring in someone from the outside, have them sit with you like a virtual assistant. They're coming in really fresh from the outside. They maybe are even seeing other organizations that operate in other ways. But I think the point you just made was be willing to hear it. Humility, coachability. That's a beautiful
Yes.
thought.
Yes. Okay, we're
Okay,
done here.
we're done here. Yeah, we're not done here. I got a little bit more. I'm very curious about the customers that you work with. But first, before we do that, I wanted our listening audience to understand the scope. How many virtual assistants do you have? What's the scope of the organization now?
Yes. So we work with over 3,500 clients, and we keep more than upwards of like 2,500 candidates, like contractor candidates on the bench at any given time. We want to make sure that there's like there's a whole math thing involved that luckily I don't have to be a part of, but we really try to keep our bench healthy because we need different personalities and different skill sets. So our talent team is always at work. As one contractor, their obligations are full, we've got somebody who's just as great who can step in and take a role.
Okay. But you're also having to vet people that are wanting to work as a virtual assistant with you. So tell me a little bit about that process.
Our vetting process is extremely it's hard. Like it's not, you can't just say, "Oh, I want to be a VA," and come to Belay and get a job. We probably take in 1,200 applications every single month of contractors who want to work with us through our vetting process, which is made up of, we're going to test you on your hard skills. We're going to find out if you actually know how to manage an email account or use a task management tool like an Asana or a Trello. What are your people skills like? Like, can you work with people of different personalities from all over the country? And once they do all of that, they have a skills test, they have multiple interview processes, and at the end of it, we probably add 100 to 150 contractors to the bench. Yeah, so it's really tough. But it gives me the confidence when I'm meeting with a client to say these really are the best of the best that we've got, and we want to match you with.
Well, Megan, I know that, like I said, I got to know you because some of my clients and a lot of our clients are, say, Chick-fil-A operators and their teams. And I got to know about your company and you through them, and the success they've had with having virtual assistants. So is that what makes, is that your specific area? What's kind of your client group within Belay?
Yeah, so yes, I get to work with Chick-fil-A operators, and it is such a blessing. My overall roster is honestly pretty diverse. I work with financial CEOs, with church pastors, and everything in between, small business owners, all the things. And I think that diverse roster really allows me to serve all of our clients really well because I get to see kind of how each person's running their business, where their pain points are, what are the commonalities, etc. But the Chick-fil-A operator is by far one of my favorite clients to get to work with. I get to work with a really large handful of them here at Belay, and it's been such a blessing since I came on with Belay a couple years ago to be able. I just happened, I think, to be in the right place at the right time. A CSC was leaving. I got to take over all of those accounts, and it's just grown ever since, and it's been fantastic.
So as you're listening to these Chick-fil-A operators and then matching them, and now at once you get a match, then you stay in that relationship and make sure things are going well. What are you noticing among Chick-fil-A operators that might be unique about their role? Maybe in a way that just kind of stands out in the industries that you're working in, but also in a way that virtual assistants have been extra helpful to them.
Yeah. Our operators are just they're a really special group of people, and I think what sets them apart from many other business owners is that they really are focused on building leaders within their organization. Their goals for their leadership, their directors, even, the 16-year-old who's starting in the back of house, like their goals for those employees is to learn, to grow, to go on and be successful, to set if they want to stay in Chick-fil-A, to set their path up, provide them with opportunities to be able to move down that path. If it's not, then it's to provide them life experiences and work experience that sets them up for success long term. But I love that about the Chick-fil-A operator. It's the thing that I think it really aligns them well with Belay in the process. But because they're doing that and that's the focus, it really is the focus. Like, yeah, is it the chicken? Of course it's the chicken. Like, we got to sell chicken, right? To make money. But every operator I have ever met, their larger purpose for what they're doing in their restaurant is to build leaders. It's to create paths for long-term success for those who work underneath them. It's not about them. It's about the restaurant. When I say the restaurant, I mean the people in it. It's so unique. It's just so cool to get to be a part of that because the vision is just so much bigger than, we're trying to sell X number of chicken sandwiches every single day. And I don't want to deal with my email because I'm focused on chicken sandwiches.
Okay, before you answer the second part of my question, then let's connect something you said earlier. So you're able to notice culture with these operators. You're able to see vision that goes beyond chicken, beyond profit, beyond out there into people. How does vision help with culture?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Vision helps with culture because vision gives you a pathway in which you're going forward. And everything you do, I'm like, this is kind of a soapbox for me. So I'll try to keep myself,
Go
I'll
for
keep my
it. Go for it,
enthusiasm as
Megan.
like
Just let
calm as
us
I
have
can.
it.
But when you have a clear vision of where you're headed with your business and your organization, then everything else underneath it like makes sense. So you can create a culture for people where you're all working towards the vision. If your vision is disjointed, your culture is going to just fall apart. Because what are we working towards? What's the point of what we're doing? Um, Belay has a very specific vision. We exist. Our mission statement is we exist to help others climb higher and reach their goals. That's it. Very simple, not difficult at all. But because that's it, everyone who comes into Belay comes in with a mindset, understanding that that's what we do. That's who we are. So therefore, we are servant-hearted first. Servant-hearted first. Um, we also have fun. Like, you can't help others if you're not having fun, if you're not thinking outside the box. We really work to wow. Like, we want to wow our clients. We won't. Yes, the how is important. How are we going to do that? Great. No, but what are we doing to wow our clients? And again, it all builds back to that vision. How are we helping others get to their goals? So it's the same within the restaurant. If the goal, and Chick-fil-A has a mission statement, Chick-fil-A has a vision for what Chick-fil-A is doing. But the cool thing is each individual operator also has a vision for what they're doing within
They
their
do.
restaurant.
Yeah.
They each have a mission statement for the way they live, and the way that they run their business. And almost every single one of them that I've encountered and had the blessing of getting to work with is about building leaders in one way or another, creating an atmosphere and a culture in which you're helping to move the dial forward. If you're helping to move the dial forward, then you're learning, you're growing, you're doing the things you need to do, not only to help make the business successful, but make yourself successful within it. So yeah, I'll get off the soapbox now,
Okay.
but
No, I like your
it just matters
soapbox.
so much.
I like your soapbox. I'm adopting some language there. Leadership, part of leadership is language, and some of the language I want to adopt is that idea that vision sets the direction and helps culture make sense. I love that. Like, people know when, I think unhealthy cultures are when people are going out, this makes no sense. And so when you have clear vision, you have good culture, people are just have this kind of relaxed, like, oh, this all makes sense. I understand. And so love that. Thank you for jump back on your soapbox anytime. That's good. So then you've got this virtual assistant
Mhm.
situation. How for the operator, how does it specifically help? How have you seen that really help an operator to have this person either very visible or invisible, and however they have it set up? But how have you seen that help operators in their particular role?
Yeah. So it allows having a VA, having somebody who's focused on administration. The biggest thing it does is allows the operator to get out of inside the nitty-gritty of the business and focus on the business's greater good and the greater whole of what should be happening. So getting the operator out of day-to-day email management, getting them out of calendar coordination. They care so much about meeting with their leaders and meeting with their directors and wanting to make sure they're pouring into them, but they don't necessarily need to be doing the scheduling of all of that or the prep for the meetings that is going to actually occur, or the follow-up. Hey, did you do A, B, and C? So a VA can step in and take over all of that, allow the operator to be on the floor of the restaurant, spending time, just cleaning toilets, as stupid as it sounds. But like, again, the Chick-fil-A operator is such an interesting person and such a servant-hearted person. They're like, listen, if I'm asking them to do it, I want to be able to do it too, but I can't do it because I'm stuck dealing with invoices or answering emails or dealing with CARES stuff. So cool, let the VA do that. The VA cannot be in the restaurant cleaning toilets, but they can be in your email managing that email. They can be creating systems on the back end that make things more automated or make things cleaner and more organized, which also then allows for the operator to not have to worry about doing those things outside of business hours. So they can be more present at home. They can make it to their kids' softball game or t-ball game or whatever. Their wife isn't upset because they've had to cancel again, or their husband's not upset because they've had to cancel on a date night because it's taken care of. The VA can jump into some of the administrative tasks having to do with HR that take up a lot of maybe that director's time. Maybe we need to pour into that director or have them deal with bigger issue stuff. The VA can do the admin stuff. If it's the back end and they hate, I love it. I was like, if you hate doing it or someone else can do it, but you're still holding on to it, give it to somebody else.
Megan, this is so fun. I'm enjoying this conversation. One more question about, identifying if you need to have a virtual assistant, kind of thinking through that. What would be some signs or symptoms for someone, a CEO or a Chick-fil-A operator or whomever, that they might use to identify, yeah, it's time for me to start considering this option?
Yeah. Um, do you feel overwhelmed? Like, I could sound like a prescription drug commercial, but if you feel overwhelmed, overly tired, are you not checking your email the way you need to? Or better yet, does your email have like 50,000 unread emails and it's so overwhelming to look at that you don't know where to start? Is your calendar constantly a mess? Does it feel like your calendar's running you instead of you running your calendar? Do you have goals that you're trying to meet with your employees or for yourself, but you keep having to push them off because you're still backlogged in administrative work? Yeah. Are you missing things at home? Are you working when you should be sleeping? I mean, is your spouse like going, hey, we should go out for dinner sometime, but there's never a free night to do it if you're working on the weekends? Like, I respect the hustle 100%. And I think anybody who's trying to work their way up a ladder or build a business in any way, there is a hustle that is involved in that process. But is it at the detriment of your health and your wellness and your sanity? No. So if you need someone to help carry the load, walk alongside of you, and you're missing that person, it's probably like you need some help. Whether it's, I would love for it to be Belay. I believe so much in what we do, and I've gotten to work with so many clients and watch the transformation happen for them. So I know that it works, but the big thing is like you need something. You need some sort of support in some way.
That's so good. Good. Those are great signs and symptoms. I mean, even as you talked about some of those, I mean, I'm a business owner. There's just something about being a business owner where you feel the pressure of it all. Like at the end of the day, it all falls back on the owner, right? And so there is this sense of, am I missing something? Did I did I follow up? Did I catch that thing? Is there a detail that's out there? And so to know that you got another set of eyes or multiple sets of eyes helping with that attention and keeping the important things at the top and kind of helping you prioritize and even handling some things that maybe they're time intensive. So anyway, that I as you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I do remember those feelings. And so thanks for helping me solve some of that.
You're very welcome. Anytime. Happy to do it. But glad you got somebody.
Yeah. So I've a personal leadership question for you. So what if as you look back at your leadership journey, your career, what would be something you would look to? And this is a question I like to ask different leaders because we all experience challenging times and we can learn from each other. We don't all have to go through the same challenging time that someone else did, so we can learn from them. What would be something in your review mirror that you would say at the time it felt like a failure, but it ended up propelling me forward?
In my life, there's probably been a million things. Like
Sure.
I
Sure.
I
Me
am
too.
not
I'm
someone
with
who's
you. Yeah. How do you narrow them down,
right.
right?
Like I'm not afraid to fail either. So I think that I don't hold on to these big detrimental memories of failure because I let myself fail often and fail forward. Um, I try to learn from every mistake, every wrong decision that I've ever made. I make mistakes in matching clients. Like if we want to talk real time, like I've made mistakes in matching clients and VAs. It's not the end of the world. I used to, when I first started with Belay, like it was like a gut punch. Like, oh gosh, I wasn't perfect on this. But over time, like people are really unique creatures. We're all very different. Some people show up one way in an interview, and then the way they show up in day to day is very different. Um, with that, I think not listening to my gut enough, not trusting my gut goes with that, right? Like, I think if I trusted my gut more, I would fail less often, but I like failure. So like I tend to think about things a lot more. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think in real time, most recent, it's when you match a client. I don't like making mistakes. I say that I don't love to fail. I don't like matching clients with VAs who aren't a good fit because it wastes time. And I don't like wasting people's time. But I think we all learn a lot from those mistakes. So I'm not afraid to own it. I'm not afraid to fix it. I'm not afraid to get with a client and say, okay, so what did we learn? Like, what did we learn? Where are we course correcting? What am I doing now to make it right?
Thank you for sharing that. Kind of behind the curtain. I mean, that's a painful thing, but what a powerful statement of, hey, we this is survivable, and now I know more information to go find you someone else that would be a better fit. So good for you. Thanks for being transparent about that.
Of course. Well, and I get to partner with my client again, which,
Yeah.
like, in a really real and meaningful way, which is kind of cool because again, I think we all learn something in those moments. So it's, hey, client, what did you learn? Hey, Megan, what did you learn? Like where was it missed? What did I miss hearing? What did we think this was supposed to be, but actually this is what it needs to be? And how do we work together to fix it? And again, like I love being able to be a partner with my clients and my contractors. It's the joy of what I do on a day-to-day basis. And so in some ways it's like, cool, I got an opportunity to do that. That's really great.
Well,
I had to eat some humble pie and tuck my tail,
sure.
but like what a cool opportunity to be able to do that.
As a business owner and as someone who's had to hire and let people go at times over the years, let me just say how awesome it is to know that there's someone else out there helping with that. Like, I don't always get it right either. Every business owner that's listening here probably feels the same way. Like they haven't, maybe there's some out there that have always gotten it right, but I would imagine there's several out there that didn't always get it right.
I
And
want
to
to
know,
meet that
but
person.
then it's on them, right? Yeah, right. We need to learn from them. Get them on this show. And
That's right.
but to know that, like for me to know if that were to happen, I would have you to handle all that back end, the interviewing, the rethinking, the recalibrating. That would be something that would be on me if I were the hiring, because what you do, you bring one person to me and say, hey, this is the person I think is the person. And it's not me vetting, it's you vetting. And so, so I would say that would bring me a lot of comfort knowing
Mhm.
I had that kind of support from you.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think in so many ways we save our clients so much time, and we really do work to partner with our clients on being a staffing solution. Like, let us do the hard part. Let us do the vetting. Let us figure out if this is the right thing. And if it's not, guess what? We'll go back and we'll fix it. We'll make it right. We'll do what it takes to make it right for you. Um, and again, in hopes of creating a really awesome, fruitful, long-term, mutually beneficial relationship.
Megan, thanks so much. This is amazing. Let's do this again, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This was a great time.
Thank you for listening to Build Your Culture Brand with Dr. Jay Rains. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Visit our website at buildyourculturebrand.com for our free culture brand assessment. See you next time. We would like to note that Leaders Q serves individual owner-operators and their teams and is not affiliated, endorsed by, or in any way officially connected with Chick-fil-A Incorporated.